Oh, hello there. What are we doing? Well, we're in the snow. Why? We're doing a little something that I like to call discomfort training. Right about now, you're probably saying to yourself, Lopez, why would you ever intentionally make yourself uncomfortable? It's uncomfortable. Why would you do that? Well, it turns out that there's actually, throughout human history, a myriad of traditions that basically are for that exact thing, making ourselves a little bit uncomfortable. And there's a term for it. It's called hormesis, or exposing yourself to a hormetic stressor. And basically what that means is you stress yourself out a little bit for a short period of time in a controlled setting. In clinical psychology, they call it exposure therapy. And it turns out now there's a mountain of data to support the fact that doing this, stressing yourself out in different ways, gives you different physiological, psychological, and emotional benefits, and they are profound. So I like to practice discomfort training on a daily basis. And some of the ways that I do it include meditation, breath holding practices, exercise, fasting, testing learning and memory, and heat and cold stress. I used to like to take a hot bath, and then, well, I lost my bathtub. I mean, I didn't lose it. I just moved away from it. So now that I don't have an option, I decided to get creative, and I looked up cold stress. And it turns out there's a whole bunch of benefits to both of them. So I've been taking about 2-minute cold showers, and I live on my own well. So as you can see with the snow, that water's cold. And so the other day I decided to up the ante a little bit. We went out to feed the chickens, and we saw in this water trough that we have, it had frosted overnight, and there was a nice layer of ice right on top of it. So I thought, let's do it. Let's see how long we can get in and hang out there for. Now, I know what you're thinking here. You're thinking, why, Ashley Lopez, I do believe that is the most redneck thing I have ever seen. And to that I say, you ain't seen nothing yet. Come on, Frank. Let's go shoot us a squirrel for supper. So it turns out I'm actually pretty cold adapted, because I had an intention of staying there in my regular 2 minutes if possible. I wasn't even sure I could do that. Once I got in, 2 minutes passed, and I thought, geez, I'm almost like warm. So I went another minute, and then I thought, well, now this is just a waste of time. So our body adapts to these stressors. And with cold stress in particular, there are tons of fabulous benefits. So what are some of the benefits of making yourself uncomfortably cold? Turns out there's a whole lot of them. Some of them are understood better than others, but I encourage you to try it for yourself and see how it makes you feel or look. Because there's a lot of people that are using cold stress therapy to actually improve body composition or metabolic functioning. So one of the things that happens when you get cold, you have to create your own heat, right? So people will shiver, and then there's another way of getting warm, which is not shivering, and that is your body burning something called your brown fat, which sounds kind of gross, but you have white fat, which basically just sticks on you doing nothing. And then you have brown fat, which is sitting there to actually help out with things like, when you feel cold, you can burn it and you can create heat that way. What happens when you start running out of the brown fat because you're using it? Your body seems to convert some of the white fat, the useless stuff that's just sitting on you being fat, into the more useful brown fat. So you can see evidence of people anecdotally saying that they noticed a difference in body composition. And some of the studies have shown promising evidence that it might help with things like obesity and metabolic dysfunction. Another promising thing that cold stress has been showing is it reduces inflammation. This is good for athletes that are looking for a quicker recovery, or for people who have arthritis or even rheumatoid arthritis. The benefits of cold exposure are not just limited to our physical body. There are actually mental benefits as well. Norepinephrine has been shown to boost cognition and mood. Higher levels of norepinephrine have been associated with better focus and attention. If you have lower levels of norepinephrine, this is associated with things like depression. So there's a lot of applications there. If you suffer from symptoms of ADHD or depression, maybe take a cold shower. And me, myself, when I'm in a shitty mood, I take my shitty mood into the shower and I douse it in some cold water for 2 minutes. And every single time I feel better. But I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, no, I don't care what the benefits are. I'm not getting in a cold shower. Clients tell me that all the time about certain things that I suggest. And so what I do is I say, hey, let's practice some sort of discomfort training. And there are benefits to other things as well. Speaking of the cognition thing, there's something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is often described as like fertilizer for the brain, because what it does is it helps you grow new neurons and repair damaged ones, which is also pretty awesome. What does that result in? You being smarter and also at lower risk for things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's, dementia, all of those degenerative diseases of the brain. So if you want to protect yourself against things like that, you can try to raise your levels of BDNF. And how can you do that? Heat stress is actually one of the things that has been shown to raise levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. But that's not all. There's also exercise, meditation, and practicing, learning. Both heat and cold stress, and of course exercise, have all been shown to also be protective against cardiovascular disease, which is still one of the main killers and something that I have a huge genetic predisposition for. So I do all of those things. And of course, you can look at your diet as well. Speaking of diet, fasting is another way that you can increase levels of BDNF. And actually, I like to do that on a daily basis with an intermittent fast, and I like to do it on a quarterly basis with a prolonged fast of like 3 to 6 days, because I also get gut rest out of that. And fasting has been shown to be very promisingly, possibly one of the best natural ways that you can encourage your body to heal its own organs instead of, just getting real sick later in life and having to have a transplant or maybe have one 3D printed. I don't know. Are they doing that these days? Even stressing yourself out with food is a thing, and that has been shown to have cardioprotective qualities. What am I talking about? Spicy food, capsaicin. In one study from Italy, they found that people who consumed chili peppers at least 4 times a week, they were 1/3 less likely to die from heart disease as compared to people who had the same diet but just didn't eat the chili peppers. Now, there's another thing that I love about discomfort training, and this goes a little bit more into the existential realm, but when you train yourself to tolerate discomfort, you're becoming tougher on the inside, and that's awesome. Why? Because when you're tougher on the inside, you're not as scared, and fear makes us act a fool, right? Have you ever seen that person? Okay, let's be honest. We have all been this person. You walk into the yoga studio and you go, it's too hot in here. And the music's too loud. And that guy next to me is smelly. And that lady over there is looking at me funny. And, on and on and on. When you're uncomfortable, you're kind of a nasty person to be around, even if you're not saying anything about it. Other people around you can feel it. On the other hand, when you're walking around calm, confidence, and you have that brain space to be present, you become this pillar of strength for other people around you. And you know what happens then? When people see you walk into a room and you're content, you're smiling, you're calm, you are present, they say, I want to have some of what she's having. And so you also become a positive example for everyone around you. And it just kind of continues to flow out there. And that's one of my biggest things is I want to be the person that's creating a more positive world. I want to be that person that can help other people. And if you are having a crisis all the time about the temperature or your gut distress or your physical weakness, you start getting scared of everything. You've seen that. Maybe you've done that. We've all done that maybe to some degree. Something bad happens to you and you want to start to just retreat away from the world into your own little bubble. And then you stop doing as many things. And to me, that's just not living. And we're here for such a small amount of time. Like, I want to live. I don't want to be afraid of the world around me. Now, why are these things uncomfortable? Well, because they're actually dangerous to some degree, right? Of course, you can hurt yourself by eating poison. You can hurt yourself by getting too cold. You can hurt yourself by getting too hot. You can hurt yourself by fasting too long. You'll just die eventually. So you really have to listen to your body when doing these things. And remember, this is not medical advice. I'm just a dork that's into fitness and health and wellness, and I like to read stuff and I like to experiment on myself. So I'm sharing with you my experience, but honestly, there are some really fabulous resources out there. I definitely recommend checking out Dr. Rhonda Patrick's topic pages on BDNF and cold stress and sauna and heat stress. You can also check out Wim Hof, and he'll tell you all about cold stress, as well as how to do breathing exercises that stress you out a little bit for a short period of time and have huge psychological and physiological benefits. So there are other people, if you are interested, please look into these things. And what I tell my clients is, hey, if you are not into a specific thing, that's okay. If you can't take a cold shower for 2 minutes, take a lukewarm shower for 10 seconds, right? Maybe just start to inch your eating window a little bit, longer of time between dinner and breakfast. Can you go 12 hours without eating for an intermittent fast at first? Most people find that achievable. And that's the idea. You don't want to traumatize yourself. You just want to stress yourself out a little bit. And the awesome thing is the confidence boost you get from that. Like, wow, I didn't know that I was capable of blank. So what are your favorite ways of stressing yourself out? And what benefits have you enjoyed? Let me know. Thanks so much for hanging out, everyone. See you later.